So this year the trend in smartphones is going completely bezel-less with a pop-up front camera, and I'm very happy we are seeing this in very affordable budget prices. The Oppo F11 Pro, the Vivo V15 and the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 are three recent smartphones with these features, and all of these are very affordable budget phones. But which one of these is the best? And which one should you get? Let's find out, but before that I want you to subscribe to my channel, or if you're watching on Facebook then press the like button. Okay, let's start the comparison. Appearance wise, if you like different looking phones like me, I think you will be happy with either of these phones. All three are very distinct looking phones in really different fun looking colors. The Y9 Prime has this two-tone green color which creates a really cool looking effect under direct sunlight. Both the Oppo F11 Pro and the Vivo V15 have a gradient pack, and I like both of them. The Oppo F11 Pro comes in black and blue or green and blue, while the V15 comes in a blue gradient which contains many different shades of blue. All three of these phones are made of glass-stick material. That means it's plastic that feels like glass. So in usability, all of them feel the same way in the hand. Personally, I think I like the back most on the Vivo V15. I love this color the most. It's a lighter shade that stands out more compared to the slightly darker green shade on the Y9 Prime and the pretty dark muted colors on the Oppo F11 Pro. I also like the slight texture on the Vivo V15. So overall, if we are talking about the back appearance, I choose the Vivo V15. The highlight in all three of these phones is that they are giving a completely bezel-less front panel with a tiny chin, and there's no notch or a punch hole or anything distracting on the screen. The Y9 Prime has the largest display, which is 6.59 inches compared to the 6.53 inches on both the Oppo and the Vivo phone. Even though it's a small difference, it does feel like a lot while using these phones. The Y9 Prime feels like a massive phone in the hand, and I do really like that. On the other hand, the Vivo V15 has the smallest chin, but it's not really that noticeable. You really have to look really closely at all these phones to see which one has the smallest chin, because the difference is really so small. So if you are looking for the best front panel, I think you will be happy with either of these phones. Let's talk about the camera pop-up. In my experience, I like the rising camera mechanism most on the Oppo F11 Pro. It's at the center of the phone, which is a slightly better position for taking selfies, while the pop-up camera is on the sides on the other phones. If we talk about speed and functionality, the Oppo F11 Pro also wins in this department. The Oppo F11 Pro has the fastest rising camera in all of these phones, and is also capable of face unlock, while both the Vivo V15 and the Y9 Prime lack this functionality. After the Oppo F11 Pro, I'd say the Vivo V15 is at second. It also has a very fast camera pop-up, which is just slightly slower than the Oppo phone, while Y9 Prime has the slowest pop-up camera. In both Oppo and Vivo, there isn't a noticeable delay when you open the camera app, but in the Y9 Prime, you definitely have to wait a bit till the camera is out. So in conclusion, I think Vivo V15 and the Y9 Prime are better looking phones than the Oppo F11 Pro, but at the end of the day, I'd go with the Oppo F11 Pro because I want the faster camera pop-up and face unlock. So for build quality, the Oppo F11 Pro takes the win because of its more functionality. The Y9 Prime has a 16 megapixel camera with a 2 megapixel depth sensor, while the Vivo V15 has a 24 megapixel main camera with a 2 megapixel depth sensor. And finally, the Oppo F11 Pro has a 48 megapixel main camera with a 5 megapixel depth sensor. If there's anything you need to know about the phone camera, it's that megapixels don't really matter. That's only the size of the photo. The thing that matters the most is the camera sensor, and we will talk about that in a bit. Functionality wise, the Y9 Prime 2019 and the Vivo V15 have more features than the Oppo F11 Pro. Both the Huawei and the Vivo phone are giving a wide angle lens, while the Oppo F11 Pro only has a dual camera setup. Let's talk about the quality. In my opinion, the Oppo F11 Pro has the best front-facing camera. It captures better colors, better clarity, mostly better everything than both Vivo and the Huawei phone. However, in terms of the back camera, the Vivo V15 takes the lead. The V15 takes just a much better looking photo than the Oppo F11 Pro and the Huawei Y9 Prime. The colors are just much better on the V15, they look more natural and they are more vibrant. The Oppo F11 Pro also takes good photos, but the colors are a bit washed out, while the Y9 Prime has the worst colors and the worst dynamic range. So overall, the camera is the weakest on the Y9 Prime, and honestly it makes sense because it's way more cheaper than both of these phones and they have to cut the corners somewhere, and for the Y9 Prime it's the camera. Then there's the Oppo F11 Pro, which has the best front-facing camera, but if I had to pick one phone for the camera out of these phones, I'd pick the Vivo V15. It has the best back camera, it has the best colors, and most importantly, it has the best functionality. The wide-angle lens is much better than the Y9 Prime, and there's no wide-angle camera on the F11 Pro. So for camera, the winner is the Vivo V15. All three of these phones have an LCD panel at 1080p resolution, and for consuming content or photos and videos and pretty much everything, all three of these phones will give you a great experience. But in my experience, the Vivo V15 has the sharpest and the brightest display, while the colors are not as saturated as the Y9 Prime and the Oppo F11 Pro. The colors look the best on the Oppo F11 Pro. Overall, if I have to go with a display, I'd go with the Oppo F11 Pro. The colors look the best, and for me that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, that gives you the better and more vibrant experience. The Oppo F11 Pro and the Vivo V15 are pretty much identical under the hood. Both have a MediaTek P70 processor and both have 6GB of RAM. The Huawei Y9 Prime has a Kirin 710F processor with 4GB of RAM. In terms of usability, all three of these phones are at the same level. Some apps open quicker on the Y9 and some on the Vivo V15 and some on the Oppo F11 Pro. I think if you want a good performing phone, you will be happy with either of these phones. The difference, however, comes in the UI experience and the GPU. The Oppo F11 Pro and the Vivo V15 have a stronger GPU than the Y9 Prime, so gaming is better on these phones. The Y9 Prime also has a smooth gaming experience, but it just takes longer to load and render. The UI experience, however, it's a completely different story. In my opinion, the Y9 Prime gives the best user experience compared to these phones. Y9 Prime has EMUI 9, which in my opinion is the better Android skin than FunTouch OS on Vivo and Color OS on Oppo F11 Pro. The Oppo F11 Pro has the worst skin. While it does look visually appealing, it has many logical inconsistencies that I go over in my Oppo F11 Pro video. The Vivo V15 now comes with dark mode, which isn't available on either Oppo or Huawei at the moment, but the lack of an app drawer really hurts it. It's very difficult for me to use a phone without an app drawer. At the end of the day, when it comes to user experience, I'd go with the Y9 Prime. It has an app drawer, it doesn't have the inconsistencies that Oppo has, and most importantly, it has the best gesture navigation. Gesture navigation results in a much more fluid and smoother feeling experience while navigating through the UI. So overall, for gaming, Oppo and Vivo are identical and better than the Y9 Prime. But for everything else, the Y9 Prime takes the lead and gives a better experience, and since I'm not much of a gamer, I'd go with the Y9 Prime for the performance. Let's quickly talk about the battery life. All three of these phones have 4000 mAh battery, and all three can give you 2 days of battery life without any issues. But the Y9 Prime doesn't have any fast charging capabilities, while both the Oppo F11 Pro and the Vivo V15 have fast charging. So in conclusion, the Oppo F11 Pro gives you a better camera pop-up experience, while the Vivo V15 gives you the better camera results, and the Y9 Prime gives you the better user experience. I think all three of these phones have their strengths, but at the end of the day, it's your decision that you have to make about which feature do you want the most. If you want better looking photos from the back camera, then for that, you have to pick the Vivo V15. If you are more of a selfie person, then the Oppo F11 Pro is a no-brainer. Or if you are on a tighter budget, then the Huawei Y9 Prime is the more logical device for you. And I do have to appreciate Huawei for making such an affordable phone that is on par with these phones that are much more expensive, but it comes at the expense of the camera. So you have to make your own conclusion about which of these features do you want the most, and I think you will be happy with either of these phones. For me, if I had to choose one, I choose either the Oppo F11 Pro or the Vivo V15, since budget is not an issue for me. And I really do like the pop-up camera on the Oppo F11 Pro and the camera results on the Vivo V15. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you in picking out the phone that fits to your needs the most. Please subscribe to my channel if you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.